Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for Friday, January 7th. We've got racing from Aqueduct. We've got Golden Hour racing from California. Super excited. Just want to kick off by saying thank you so much to everybody out there who's reached out about this super fun news about In the Money Media / attheraces.com being able to win this Eclipse Award that I was part of the team along with Naomi Tucker and Matthew Taylor from ATR. What a great honor it is. If folks want to check out the piece, you can actually go to attheraces.com/Breeders' Cup and check it out. So much fun with these 17 racing luminaries sharing their Breeders' Cup memories. What an honor to get recognized. So many people have won Eclipse Awards. I look through the list of names and it's like, I see mine on it. It's like one of these, which name does not belong games, but hey, we'll take it. Super excited and super fun that it was such a team effort. Again, thanks to everybody out there for reaching out about that. We'll be doing a special podcast early next week as well, where you can hear some snippets of some of those interviews if you'd rather listen in podcast form. We're going to have a quick word from a sponsor, and then we'll be back with our first guest. Before we get started today, just wanted to put out another request for folks to sign up for our free In the Money newsletter, the best way to keep track of all the content and let us get directly in touch with you and provide a pipeline for you to get directly in touch with us. Sign up today. It's free. inthemoneypodcast.com/email. First up on the show, very happy to have back on the program an analyst who's been with us a few times. We have a decent little run of success looking at these Aqueduct Saturday cards. So we bothered to do some Woodbine as well. I think the last time we got together, we produced a carryover, one of the most impossible sequences I've seen yet in my In the Money Media days. But welcome back, Jill Gentili. How are things?
Things are good. I was kind of waiting for my props on the Woodbine pick 4 since I put out some bombs out there. I mean, did it, but my signal did come in at the end. It was a while. It feels like a decade ago now.
It was a minute ago, and it's a good thing they're not racing up in Canada right now with the weather we're having here in New York, buried under snow. But I think you guys actually got it worse, didn't you?
I think Lexington did. I'm in Louisville, and we got a couple of inches. And look, people still can't drive here. I'm from the Northeast, and I don't get it. I don't have a 4-wheel drive car. People are doing donuts. I don't understand any of it. But, you know, it is what it is.
A good holiday season, hopefully with plenty of wagering mixed in.
Great holiday season. Actually spent New Year's Eve at Turfway
Nice.
Watching one of Jake Ballas's horses run over there in the last bankroll, who ended up winning that race, which was awesome. A good way to ring in the new year. However, Churchill, I am reaching out to you saying, put a tent out there for the owners. Something.
There's nothing, right?
There is nothing. Maybe a cooler with beers. I don't know. Anything, please. Please. There is a Port of John and sand dunes. That's about it.
Oh my goodness. that could probably be better. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that could probably be better. Well, no Aqueduct today, but the good news is there was originally more snow forecast. That seems to have moved on. I do believe we're going to be able to dive into this pick 6 without much problem on Saturday. And we kick things off at 1:48 Eastern with an allowance race for 4-year-olds and up, going 7 furlongs. I'm very curious to get your thought in here. I've come up with a few different ways of looking at the race, and I'm still undecided exactly where I'm going to land. The rare race where I think I could use 5 numbers and still feel like I'm not covering everything. How do you want to light this candle, Jill?
It's funny because I felt the exact same way, and I looked at it several times, and I actually did something different where I handicapped from the last race to the first. Because I really could not come up with a concrete decision for race 4. However, you know, as you said, you can either go all in here or you can kind of narrow it down, hyper-focus. And I hyper-focused on 2 horses. I think the one, American Monarch, is definitely the pick in here. Looks like a horse that's improving with each start, moving to the dirt, and it looks like 7 furlongs might be this horse's sweet spot. So I think, you know, if this horse runs to form, American Monarch could be the winner. Probably be a short price in here, and I don't love that as a gambler. But I will use the 1. The other horse I will use in here is the 5, Malibu Star. Throwing out Malibu Star's last race at Churchill. I don't know what happened there. Maybe he was a little tired. But I think that 7 furlongs should suit him. He's had 2 black letter works since that race at Churchill. And hopefully I'll get a nice price on this horse, over 4 to 1, maybe 6, 7, 8 to 1. I would love that. So those are really the 2 that I'm looking for in here.
I get both of those. They were both on my short list. I do worry that because of the pace scenario, that Malibu Star might end up catching a bit more money than that. Because I do think, just looking at pace figures, Malibu Star does project to be clear. And that's one of the reasons I'm going to have as an A, but I'm holding back a little bit in terms of wanting to press or make the top pick. After bouncing around to the 5 different options, ended up with Sound Money, number 7, as my top pick. I thought was a little bit interesting coming off of that very wide run at Parks. Now, very often at Parks, being wide isn't a bad thing, but I thought that was maybe a little bit too wide. And that's just a race that's produced good form. I like the cutback for Sound Money. And I think, looking at pace figures, a chance to be in touch with the pace and hopefully pounce. Malibu Star, a clear A for me. And then others I want to mess around with. The 3, Market Alert, probably more of a B. Love the race 2 back. Then regressed badly last time, but that was taking Lasix off. It's back on today, and I think Market Alert could be in a good attacking position as well. You mentioned American Monarch. I think makes all the sense in the world on figures and form if the trip can be worked out from down at the inside in the race without a ton of speed. And I gave Risk Profile a chance too, as a horse that if they do go too fast up front, has shown some finish. So I'm going to go with 5 numbers. We'll make the A's, the 7, and the 5, and I'll use the 3, 1, and the 8 as B's to close things out in that 4th race, which will move us on to leg B in this sequence. We've got $14,000 claimers, 4 and up, going 1 mile on the dirt, and this is race number 5. I went with Profusion. I have a big question mark about Profusion, but this horse, just in terms of figures and form and pace, makes all the sense in the world. The issue, the barn just not in form at the moment. Now, Linda Rice did get a winner, but you look at the overall mark at this meet, it's not good. And these are not long shots that aren't winning and hitting the board. There's a lot of horses that have been bet. So I'm a little bit nervous about that aspect with Profusion. And so I will back up with the 5, Lakoya Road, and the 12, Striking Speed. Lakoya Road is the one I think is the best finisher, and Striking Speed is one who might be the best speed. So I'm going to look at it 8, 5, and 12 in race number 5. Is that something you look at, Jill, in general, the short-term fluctuations in form of the barn?
Absolutely. And, I with this race, this is my favorite type of race, cheap claimers for 14,000 non-winners at 3 Life. I love handicapping these races because, as we talked about, I think on a previous show, it's the same horses running against each other over and over and over again. And as you said, it's the form of the barn. That normally dictates who the winner will be. I have very similar numbers to you. I went a little bit deeper here with 4 horses, but I do like the 5 Lakoya Road. I think, he stayed on nicely for 3rd after setting a quick pace in the last race. And he was dueling with Striking Speed, who I also do like in this race as well. I think, Striking Speed and Profusion are 2 horses you have to use in here. Profusion, first off the claim, always tough, always seems to be in the money. And, at this track, I really do look for, with these horses, form at the track. It's a horse for the course, so to say. And I think Profusion is definitely that. And finally, I'm going to throw in a big long shot, which is Kid Chocolate, who, if you look back to January 2021 of last year, won at this level and this distance at this track. And you look, will history repeat itself here? Maybe. You don't know. It's really with these horses who's having the best day. You never know. So I'm going to throw Kid Chocolate in at his price.
I think it's smart to pay attention to course and distance success. I also think it's smart to look at horses who've won at prices before. You see that in terms of either trainer patterns sometimes or just certain horses that, whether they're just sort of natural in and outer types or what's. But that is something that over the years has paid dividends. And I think I'm going to look long and hard at that number as well. Number 11, Kid Chocolate. You're looking to spread around 5, 12, 8, and 11. I've got this one mostly with the 8 and a little bit 5 and 12. Let's talk about race number 6, starter allowance, 6 furlongs on the dirt. And Jill, we'll keep it with you.
I'm going to start with the number 6, Subsidize. It's funny because in the next race, I look at a trainer change. It's kind of like Mike Maker and Chad Brown had a bet, and then they just switched horses from each barn here. This horse is going to Mike Maker, and I think he's had some solid races on the dirt before they decided to switch to the turf. There's not really any turf pedigree here, so I don't know. They tried on the turf, and this may be his surface and distance. And at this class level, he's my top pick here. I also like the one Trash Talker. He can be fast. His October race at Belmont was very, very good. And Rob Atras has been, visiting the winner's circle a lot at Aqueduct. If he runs back to that Belmont race, you got to put him in here. I think he could definitely be in the winner's circle here. And then number 5, Jake Rocks, is a wild card for me. Everyone's going to look at that Baby Yoda race. I never liked Baby Yoda. I thought he was very overrated. So I don't know what to think about that race here. But I will definitely use him in my pick 6 ticket if I have a few extra dollars. But I'm not set on that horse. So it's definitely a 6-1 for me and 9 on the B line.
All right. We'll make sure. You mentioned the 9, Color Me Posy or 5. Jake, I was curious if you wanted both of them, because I actually can tell you a story about Color Me Posy, but this was another race. Give me 6 and I'd be happy. Yeah. For my top pick, I landed on the number 4, Extreme. I think this is a considerably easier spot than that Turfway run. Now, second off the claim for Ray Handel. I think Extreme is also going to get a really nice trip forward, probably not on the lead, maybe just off, and does look to be working well. A horse that I'm hoping is going to be a big price that I want to have in the mix is the 2, Charlie 5-0, a horse who I also think could find himself in a good attacking spot as they get halfway around the turn. Barn, as you mentioned, firing on all cylinders. You mentioned Trash Talker for Atras. I actually can tell you a story about this one at double-digit odds. I feel like there's excuses for the last couple of Charlie 5-0 runs in terms of surfaces and trips. Color Me Posy, who I mentioned before, that was a winning race in defeat when tipped up last time on the network. Probably moved a bit early into the fast pace. I'm hoping more of a hold-up ride. I think Color Me Posy could be heard from late. I like your Subsidize to have as a backup line. And then another number I wouldn't hate using is number 3, King James, a horse that hasn't run on dirt since the debut. Did a little bit of running there, and I think is worthy of a shot as a potential late runner in a race with a lot of pace. And then if I could afford it, the ones that you mentioned that I didn't, the 1 and the 5, I don't hate the idea of having some of them around as well. So it's this is another race I see is very, very open. I guess I'm just hoping to survive and advance when it comes to race number 6. Any other thoughts on this one before we turn the page?
I mean, I totally 100% agree with you. I think you can go very, very deep in this race. But with the dollar pick 6 now, it's how deep can you go? I mean, how much do you want to spend on this ticket? And I think that, budgeting is always big, especially with these pick 6 tickets and, what the pool looks like and how much you really want to put into it. So I'm going to stick with my 3 here. I do have the 9 in parentheses on my notes, so I'll probably throw that horse in just because I had written it down for some reason, but didn't mark any notes on it. So, it's always a gambler's worst nightmare when you have that written down. You're like, oh wait, I didn't use it. So,
and the other thing, and this happens to me, I mean, it's such a cliche, but it happens to me all the time. That was the last horse I threw out.
Yes.
We've had lots of pick sixes go down because of the last horse that you threw out. It might be one of those things that doesn't happen as often as we think because of the sort of memory bias, but I swear it is true. Let's talk about race number 7, 4 and up, filly and mare, New York bred allowance types going 6 furlongs. This race gave me a headache. I came around to number 10, Grudge as the top pick. This horse, another actress runner off the claim and has pace figures and final figures to be in the mix. If moves up at all, which given the current form of the barn is quite possible, not a ton of speed in here, can maybe get the better of my Roxy Girl out on the front and just keep going. I don't know what to do exactly with number 6, Ruvy's in Time. At my first blush looking at her, I was thinking she'd just gone off form. But the more I looked at that last race, being up on a hot pace, and now getting this the switch into the Rudy Rodriguez barn, they do so well with the new acquisitions. I want to keep Ruvy's in Time on side for another shot. And Impassable Donna, I like quite a bit. That last race, I feel like, was better than it looked. Third against the flow, off the layoff, should move up here for Bruce Levine. That was the way I was seeing it. I was going to try to get out 10, 6, and 12. How do you see it?
I mean, again, this pick six ticket is tough. These races are all, what I think is they're very tough to handicap. My top pick is the 9 Prairie Fire, back in Linda Rice's barn, and half of her wins come in Aqueduct. Again, we'll go back to Horse for the Course, which I love here at the Big A. Horses that run well over this track, normally they continue to run well over this track. Second off the claim, the horse's favorite distance, and I think she'll be really, really tough in here. Again, we're going to go with the trainer change, Esotica, number 7 being my second choice here. Didn't necessarily love this horse on paper, but again, I'm playing the trainer change. Mike Maker is a great trainer, but why is this horse going into Chad Brown's barn? I mean, that's the big question mark here. I'm surprised that he would take this horse, but we'll see. There's no logic, but this always seems to bite me in the butt when I don't play these, these crazy little things that you're like, wait, why is this horse going to Chad Brown's barn? So I'll use the 7, Esotica. And then I agree with you on the 12, Impassable Donna. Bruce Levine has been pretty hot. This horse is second off the layoff, which again, that's one of my angles for handicapping. I love second off the layoff. Ran into a muddy track and some tough competition first out, and also gets Ortiz, who's been riding very well at Aqueduct. So I have to say, Impassable Donna looks very tough here. So my numbers in this race would be 9, 7, and 12.
It is interesting to see the trainer switch on Esotica. Calumet Farm, not an owner we typically associate with Chad Brown, and it is an unusual horse to be showing up for him. So you wonder if we're going to start seeing other Calumet horses with him, or what the deal is there. I agree, it's something to pay attention to, even though in the end of the day I ended up siding against. We have one number in common, but it's a reflection of how competitive these races are, that we have, while not disagreeing fundamentally really about races or big favorites, how many different runners we've come up with. And we've got stakes action in race number 8, 4 and up New York breds for the Say Florida Sandy. And I'm trying to remember whose turn is it?
It's mine.
It's your turn. Who's going to win the stake?
I think this is a really nice stakes race on paper. My boy Tate will be the favorite. I am going to try to beat him here. I'm going to look elsewhere. I'm going to look at 2 horses coming from Laurel and Parks, and I'm going to look for prices. Number 3, Battle Station, my top pick, faced really tough competition on turf. Turf races are very, very nice, but he can hold his own on dirt. And the fact that he has Carmouche will definitely send him. I think he's going to be tough in here. My other long shot play is the number 1, Alpha Chiro. Seems to be in his best form, maybe getting better. He'll also be honor close to the lead. has Jose in the irons, and his 2 7 furlong races were in the mud. So, I mean, you may say he's not a 7 furlong horse, but because they were both in the mud, it'll be interesting to see how he runs on a dry track, if it is indeed a dry track. So let's try to beat the chalk here. That's what I'm looking at.
We're head to head. We're head to head here, but maybe I'm just too much of a card carrying member of the My Boy Tate fan club. I was impressed by the race last time. I thought it was unlucky making that middle move into a slow pace. I think he'll be closer to the running here, get a more even run through. I think he's going to make amends in this spot. I get it. He is probably he could be 4 to 5. So, I mean, I would definitely respect anybody taking a shot against. The other scenario that came to my mind is if My Boy Tate ends up being closer than usual, I think that both the horses you mentioned are going to be showing speed. And we know Lobster is going to be showing speed once again. Lobster, I respect. I don't have not going to have room on tickets to include him as a backup. But for me, I guess the key thing is he's a classic. Last time was probably the time horse. I'm not going to argue with anybody who likes Lobster. He's just not for me because I do think the runners that you both mentioned are going to be showing speed. And again, the 5 could be much closer. That could end up setting this thing up for Chestertown. And I definitely want, at least as a B, Chestertown here. If they party up front, I think he's pretty clearly the best closer in the spot. And I know it's been a long time between drinks for him, but I could see him getting up and over in this spot. And we'll see what happens. It's an interesting short field, but an interesting little race. We're taking different approaches. We'll see if we can both somehow get through to our nightcap, where we've got 3 and up New York bred fillies going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Jill, the key question as ever, how are we going to get paid?
Well, going back to the stake, I mean, if Chowder was running in the race before Lobster, I would have definitely bet the Chowder Lobster double, because that is just a stick 'em up beyond. And being from New England, it's like that can't lose.
It is great that they're siblings. And Eddie F. I don't know if you've ever been up in Saratoga to Eddie F.'s great New England style seafood restaurant. You've spent more time in New England than me, so I'd love to hear your endorsement. But as far as I'm concerned, the best lobster roll in Saratoga.
It is. It is very good. And I actually went for the first time this summer, and I thought it was excellent. I mean, they can definitely compete with some of the best on the shore over in Massachusetts. So
that's high praise, Eddie. You may be dining for free at Eddie F's after that conference.
I hope so. You need to get him as a sponsor, Pete.
It's a good idea. I mean, we are good pals with his brother.
Speed on the lead all the way around the track. I'd also used the 3 Royal Currency off since August, but a race at Saratoga may be good enough to beat these. And she showed a little speed out of the gate, and then beat the rest to be second. And I throw in the 10, Ribbits Valentine, who closed really well on a sloppy track first time out at 23 to 1. We'll see how that horse runs back with Dylan Davis aboard.
That's actually the one that I made my top pick, the number 10. I wasn't sure what they say. I was going to say Rybo or Rebo.
Yeah,
anyway. I like Ribbit, puts me in a Kermit the Frog mind. Anyway, the 10 makes a ton of sense. Ray Handel is one of the trainers who I really bake in. You talked about how much you love second off a layoff. I'm right there with you. I also love with certain trainers, especially second-time starters, because there are certain ones, and I put Handel in this group, they improve leaps and bounds. Like so many in this group, adding Lasix, that's not going to hurt the chances. Got to be careful. It's so interesting to default as an analyst to, and adding Lasix. And in so many of these races, the whole field is adding Lasix because they can have it for the first time. But still, it's not a bad thing. I like the 10. You mentioned Royal Currency. I like as well. That was an okay debut in Saratoga. If you build in figure improvement for age, she should be right there with this group. And then, just as the figure monkey that I am, I was going to include the 5 True Empress, devoid of early speed, but on figures is going to include. But I thought you had some good notes on some of your long shots. And if I can get some of those numbers in on the backup line, I thought that was a very interesting point, especially about Darn That Song. I don't hate the idea at all about trying to get some prices in here as we close things out. Where will your betting action be this weekend? Where will you be hanging out?
Definitely Big A. And, probably hanging out in Louisville, betting all the action. We have a horse running on Sunday, Beach Boy Al Jardine in the last. Take a look at that one for Bruce Levine.
Love it. You know, Al Jardine was friendly with my father. My dad had a lot of Beach Boy association. I've got a signed, you can't see it, it's out of frame here, but we've got a signed copy of the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. So that's a hunch play for the old man. I'll have to put down some money, and if it wins, we'll pop it right in Parents College Fund as a contribution from beyond. What are we thinking about Beach Boy Al's chances?
First-time starter. The race doesn't look too tough. Bruce has been okay with the first-time New York bred starters, and so let's just hope for a winner. And then they're all coming back next week, Pete. So keep your eyes peeled. Gin joints and everybody.
I like it. Good stuff. Jill, thank you so much for your time today. We'll have you on again soon.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
This show is brought to you in part by our friends at Adelphi Racing Club. Adelphi is a racing club of like-minded people who enjoy horse racing and the camaraderie of being part of something bigger than themselves. It's a true community. Adelphi's founding partners have all owned horses in other partnerships and syndicates, as well as on their own. And the overarching goal with Adelphi is to blend the benefits of solo ownership without the administrative hassle with the thrill of the partnership experience. Adelphi offers an interactive ownership experience with real-time access to other partners, trainers, bloodstock advisors, and other members of the team. Adelphi partners receive frequent multimedia content on their horses, including videos, photos, and partner-only podcast content provided by the In the Money Media team, as well as premium on-track and off-track hospitality experiences. Adelphi has an exciting class of yearling prospects by horses such as Street Sense, Laoban, Frosted, and Taprit, and will soon be launching a brand new claiming and private purchase partnership in January. Join the club. Ways to get in touch: adelphiracing.com, matt@adelphiracing.com, or through social media on Instagram, Adelphi_racing, and on Twitter @Adelphi Club. Next up in the show, returning guest Benny Southstreet from Trip No Pros. Benny, how are things?
I'm doing excellent. Happy New Year to you, Pete.
Cheers, my friend. Really quick before we get started, I know you have a cool deal going with Santa Anita. Why don't you tell folks about that?
We do. It's easy to sign up. Go to santaanita.com. You'll get everything for free. santaanita.com/Trip No Pros. You'll get all of our work for the Santa Anita meet through January. No cost.
Great stuff. I know I'll be taking advantage of that offer. You're here today to talk about the Golden Hour Pick 4. It kicks off in Santa Anita, race number 8, with the 3-year-old fillies in the Grade 2 Santa Ynez going 7 furlongs. I think we're going to have a pretty solid favorite in here. Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll vie for favoritism between the 1 and 3. But to my mind, the number 3, Big Switch, could be the favorite. Are you with her or against her?
I'm definitely with her. I love her. I loved her debut. I loved her in the Breeders' Cup. I mismanaged my ticket writing on that day, which disappointed me, but I think she's legit. I think she'll handle open company. If you watch her gallop out both races, her debut and when she beat Stakes Company on Breeders' Cup weekend, she was so far in front of the rest of the field. I think she's got a much deeper gas tank, and I think they can pedal her earlier if they want to, all the way around the track.
Tend to agree. Facing open, but visually and on the clock, this is a challenge she's going to be up for. Pointed for this spot a long way out. Looks to be training forwardly. Your enthusiasm gives me even more confidence. Let's single to start off this Golden Hour Pick 4, and then we'll pivot up north to Golden Gate for these 4 and up filly and mare allowance types going 6 furlongs on the synthetic. A race where I like number 7, Lagatha, who I thought would get a great trip and just fits on numbers. Good form coming out of those races. And also I like the 3, J&K Express, who I thought could be the best possible speed against these. A flow upgrade dropping out of a stakes race. What are your numbers in here?
I agree with you on J&K Express and Lagatha. Lagatha's going to be a B for me, but I think she can win. I think the 8 is interesting. There's a lot of speed in here. I've got strong late numbers on the 8, so if things break down, I do have the 8 as an A. J&K Express is legit. This one showed big speed from the 13 post, got a very strange ride down the backstretch, dropping inside and then getting kind of stopped in the turn. but despite getting stymied, still offered up just a massive gallop out after the race. So J&K Express will be an A for me as well. And then I also have an interesting note on the 6, who's Kitty's Candy. These 3-year-olds, if you look at into that campaign, she was 3 at the end of April last year. She was kind of trending and forging nicely before they put her on the shelf. It's that time of the year where people don't notice. Yeah, she's 4, but she was a puppy 3-year-old when they put her on the shelf. So she has every right to move forward, and I'll be using her as a B as well.
Lots of good notes there. Let's go back down south to Santa Anita for their nightcap and the race that'll kick off the Golden Hour Double. 3-year-old fillies once again in the maiden ranks, going 6.5 down the hill. Benny, we'll keep it with you.
Well, I heard from a little birdie with red feathers that the 7 can run a little bit. So I potentially might be singling the 7. It's just such a wide open race. It makes sense to single and gain a lot of equity elsewhere. Both Baltus runners will be Bs for me. This guy's been just white hot lately. He's almost impossible to throw out. And then I've got an interesting note on one of the outside runners who is trained by one of my favorite guys, Ryan Hansen. She's fast. And if you watch her on tape, she could have potentially made the lead, but she was intimidated. She was bumped inward and she shied, lost all of her speed. And then she was very, very handy through the turn. She did it on her own and finished up well. She ran like a router, and I know she has a lot more speed than what it shows on paper. She's 30-1 on the morning line. It's an automatic use for me.
Nice stuff. So 7 more of an on the A line, a possible single on some tickets, backing up 5, 6, 11. If that 11 wins, 30-1 on the morning line, could be looking at Julio get the stretch time. I'll go you one better. You give a 30-1 in this race, Benny. I'll give a 50-1 morning line in this race. Number 9, Silent Beauty. The best race was the one going farthest on our buddy Scotty's Equine Edge software on the GSR. She goes plus 11 points, stretching out from 5 furlongs to 6.5. You can forgive the debut because it was the debut. It was an impossible trip last time out. 2 back. I thought she was finishing well. Barn switch today. I think we got a live long shot here as well. The 2 Annie Song, I thought made all the sense in the world on the cutback after making a move into a hot pace going longer. A good profile for a downhill runner. And the 8 Urban, after trying to close into blue fractions last time, has a good GSR, suggesting the blood should work out well for this distance. And I like your case on the 7 as well. Bobby's Kitten going down the hill. I predict right now that's an angle you're going to hear about for years from JK on this show.
Yes,
it turns out to be productive. So 9, 2, 8, sort of on the A line for me. 7 is a backup. You have a strong preference for the 7, 5, 6, 11. That brings us to Golden Gate for the nightcap. How are we going to get paid?
I'm going 5 deep here. I don't like any of them, stronger than the other. So I will kind of go caveman here. But hopefully I've gained enough equity where I can be kind of inefficient in this leg. I like the 3. I like Miyamare. I call this a 1-length stack. There were 4 horses that were stacked 1 length apart down the backstretch, got parked into the far turn, advanced, just kind of water skied into that duel and ran 4 and 5 wide through the entire turn and put away all the speed, got run over late. So that one's a use for me. Jay's Angel, got a trouble note on Jay's Angel, which won't show up on the PPs. Besides breaking bad, just absolutely despised the kickback. And that didn't corner well when the turn came, which is what the trouble line you see in the form, and then finished up well. So the 4 is a use for me. The 5, Screamin' Emery, huge move when asked down inside, and they got completely stymied. That's kind of obvious trouble, but that one looked good in the turn. We'll be using that one. And Bali Brava, if you go 2 back, broke terrible, and then just water skied the entire backstretch. You can't burn that much fuel over the synthetic and expect to finish, and understandably tired late. I don't know if the 12 gets in, but that's a big drop. These 8s, one of my best angles when I was a kid was any horse that's dropping into these lowest level claimers up north. And if that one gets in, it's a use for me as well. So I'm 5 deep, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12.
I agree that can still be an underrated angle at a lot of different places. A horse racing at a new low level, especially a maiden, because they can have really ugly form. They can be 8 starts and obviously no wins and, maybe 1 second and that's it. But when they're facing weaker, they can wake up. So I like that angle quite a bit. I was with you with the top pick. Mia Mare improved a lot last time, and I did feel like that race was probably better than it looked. Moving into that pace that fell apart, dropping here, addition of Lasix. I think all good things for Mia Mare. I'll have one that you didn't mention that I'll make a little, half-baked wise guy case for. Another one that should be very big price at the windows. The 7 Draper Street, I thought was a little bit interesting. The dam has dropped 3 winners from 3 starters. Vronsky is 12% overall with first-time starters, 15% with 2-year-old first-time starters. And I know this is a 3-year-old, but it's January 8th, so I still think that the precocity is what I'm seeing from that number. Just for reference, average benchmark would be about 10% for what you'd expect, so a little bit above average. And this barn has really strong numbers in maiden claimers. I like Draper Street quite a bit. It seems like a nice horse to maybe try to get live to in some of the longer picks here in the nightcap. Benny, what else you got cooking? Anything else before we let you get out of here?
I got a couple tournaments. The tour is ending. I should have stayed more dedicated. Holy moly! I should have stayed more dedicated. I wasn't. So I'm chasing points right now. I'm going to be headed out to Santa Anita tomorrow. They got a $1,500 live contest. I'll be jumping into that. That's about it. Can't wait to get to the NHC. I already lined up a couple dinner engagements, so I'm looking forward to that. Hope to see you out there.
Yeah, I will see you out there, and we'll talk. We'll see if our dinner calendars can coincide. It would be nice to raise a glass, even if we have to wear a mask between sips. Good stuff, Benny. Great talking to you. We'll be talking soon.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. We'd like to thank Jill Gentili and Benny Southstreet for their contributions. Let's thank our founding partners, 10 Strike Racing. We always love to root for the purple and black around here, as well as the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Very limited quantities of the whiskeys left as a gift. That's the signed Animal Kingdom commemorative bottle by Graham Motion and John Velasquez, and also the In the Money Rye. Precious few bottles left, finished in apple brandy casks. If you're not doing dry January like me, this would be really nice dram by the fire. You can only get it by donating to the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, trfinc.org/players. We have to thank producer Craig. Extra thanks to producer Craig for what I've put him through today. Probably the most difficult show we've ever done in terms of the technology betraying us, and also my computer that I needed disappearing. I don't know. I don't know. It was the cleaning lady getting me back for yelling at her the other day when she was running the vacuum while I was trying to record. Anyway, it was a big pain in the bottom. Craig, as ever, gets everything done and does it so well. So thanks to him. Thanks most of all, though, to all of you, the listeners, for making these shows so much fun to do, especially all of you who reached out with the props on this Eclipse Award. What a great life's honor that is. Not every day you get to have an experience that will be included in your obituary, if I'm being perfectly frank. So good stuff there. Very, very gratified and very, very appreciative most of all. The fans are what makes In the Money Media, and we literally would not exist without you. So much, much appreciated. This show has been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.